History of my oldest ancestors of whom I am very proud descend. Battle of Navas of Tolosa, July 16, 1212. 3 royal grandfathers of mine unite in a coalition of Christian forces in the Battle of Navas de Tolosa, an event that marked the beginning of Christian supremacy in the Iberian Peninsula. July 16, 1212, Afonso VIII, my 27th, 28th, and 30th grandfather, King of Castile, father-in-law of Dom Afonso II, Pedro II, my 26th grandfather, 4 times my grandfather, King of Aragon, and Dom Afonso II, my 26th and 27th grandfather, King of Portugal, defeat the Moors in the Battle of Navas de Tolosa. Afonso VIII, King of Castile, the Noble, or the Navas, was born in Soria on September 22, 1155 and died on October 6, 1214. He was the son of Sancho III, the Desired, King of Castile and Blanca, Infanta of Navarre, paternal grandson of Afonso VII, the Emperor, King of Leon and Castile and Berengaria of Barcelona, and maternal grandson of Garcia Ramirez IV, King of Pamplona and Navarre and Margarida de Elagel. Afonso VIII, King of Castile, called the Noble or the Navas, was King of Castile and Toledo from 1158 until his death. He is mainly remembered for his role in the Reconquista, leading to the fall of the Almohad Caliphate. After a heavy defeat in the Battle of Alarcos, he led a coalition of Christian forces in the Battle of Navas de Tolosa, an event that marked the beginning of Christian supremacy in the Iberian Peninsula. His reign was also marked by Castile's dominance over Leon and the alliance with Aragon, making his kingdom the most powerful in the region. Afonso VIII is also the grandfather of 2 kings recognized as saints by the Catholic Church, São Luís and São Fernando. Ancestry and childhood. Son of Sancho III of Castile and Blanca, Infanta of Navarre, Afonso VIII was the paternal grandson of Alfonso VII of Leon and Castile and Berengaria of Barcelona, and maternal grandson of King Garcia Ramirez of Pamplona and Margarida de Elagel, therefore, descendant of Don Rodrigo Diaz de Bivar, El Cid, my 31st grandfather, 5 times my grandfather. In 1157, King Afonso VII died, and, at the time of his death, he divided the kingdom between his 2 sons, bequeathing Castile to his firstborn Sancho and Leo to Fernando. The 2 once united kingdoms now had different political objectives, despite the Treaty of Sahagun, May 23, 1158, celebrated by the 2 brothers, which established the collaboration of the 2 kingdoms and the division of territories conquered from Portugal and the Moors. Sancho III of Castile died on August 31, 1158, at the age of 23. Afonso, the young king's only legitimate son, ascended the throne at just 3 years old. The young king served as a pawn in the hands of the 2 great nobility parties that vied for power in Castile, the Laras and the Castros. Furthermore, his uncle Fernando II also claimed the regency of the kingdom, a situation that almost led to a civil war. Nuno Pérez de Lara, brother of Manrique Pérez de Lara, the regent of the Kingdom of Castile, took Afonso to San Esteban de Gormaz and Avila, loyal to the King of Castile. Reign and Reconquista. Thus, since her adolescence, she had to fight to regain her kingdom. He took the city of Toledo by surprise, then in the hands of the Castilian nobility. In 1170, at the age of 15, he marries his 9-year-old bride, Eleanor Plantagenet, Princess of England, my 27th, 28th, and 30th grandmother, daughter of Henry II of England and Eleanor of Aquitaine, sister of Richard, Heart of Leo, and João Terra, kings of England. Understanding the advantages of an alliance against the common Almohad enemy, he negotiated with all the Christian kingdoms of the Iberian Peninsula and managed to sign the Treaty of Cazorla, 1179, with Afonso II of Aragon, to share the. In 1212, with the mediation of Pope Innocent III, a crusade was called with the aim of defeating the Almohad power. Pedro II of Aragon, Sancho VII of Navarre, and an army of Afonso II of Portugal, in addition to the military orders of Santiago, Calatrava, Templars, and Hospital, answered the call. Afonso IX de Leo, in conflict with Castile and Portugal, did not join his forces to the Christian army, but some Leonese knights joined the crusade on their own. Starting with the conquest of Calatrava, then Alarcos and Bonavente, the campaign ended in a decisive victory at the Battle of Navas de Tolosa, on the 16th of July, 1212 against the Almohad Caliph Muhammad Nasser, and the recovery of the territories of the Guadiana River Valley. Alfonso VIII died on October 5, 1214, and was buried together with his wife in the monastery of Las Huelgas in Burgos, pantheon of the kings of Castile. Offspring. From the marriage of Alfonso VIII, King of Castile, my 27th, 28th, and 30th grandfather, in 1176, in Burgos with Eleanor Plantagenet, Princess of England, my 27th, 28th, and 30th grandmother, daughter of Henry II of England and Eleanor of Aquitania, sister of Ricardo Coracao de Leo, and Joao Sem Terra, kings of England. At least 10 children were born. Dona Berengaria of Castile, Queen Consort of Afonso IX, King of Leon and Castile, my 26th, 27th, and 29th grandmother. Sancho died at 3 months of age. Dona Sancha. Dona Urraca of Castile, my 27th grandmother, Queen Consort of Afonso II, King of Portugal. Dona Branca of Castile, Queen Consort of Louis VIII of France and founder of the Morbison Monastery of the Cistercian Order. Fernando. Dona Mafalda. Dona Leonor of Castile, Queen Consort of James I of Aragon. Henry I of Castile, who succeeded him on the throne, married Dona Mafalda, Infanta of Portugal. Dona Constanca, nun and lady of the monastery of Las Huelgas in Burgos. Peter II, the Catholic, King of Aragon and Count of Barcelona, was born in 1176 and died in Batalla de Moret, on September 12, 1213. He was the son of Alfonso II, the Chaste, King of Aragon and Sancha, Infanta of Castile, paternal grandson of Ramon Berenga IV, Count of Barcelona and Petronilla, Queen of Aragon, and maternal grandson of Alfonso VII, the Emperor, King of Leon and Castile and Requilda of Poland. Peter II of Aragon, the Catholic, was King of the Crown of Aragon and Count of Barcelona from 1196, and Lord of Montpellier from 1204 until his death. He was the son of Afonso II, the Chaste and Sancha, Infanta of Castile. Peninsular policy. Afonso II of Aragon had divided his domains in his will between his 2 sons Pedro and Afonso. The first inherited the crown of Aragon, Catalonia, and dependent territories, and Provence was inherited by Alfonso II of Provence. The act for which Pedro II is most famous is the renewal of Aragon's allegiance to the throne of St. Peter, just as Sancho Ramirez and Pedro I had done before. In fact, he was the first monarch of this kingdom to be crowned by the papacy, in the Church of St. Pancratius in Rome on February 4, 1204. Afonso II of Aragon distinguished himself in the decisive Battle of Navas de Tolosa on July 16, 1212, as part of the Christian allied force led by Afonso VIII of Castile. Occitan politics. In 1204, Peter II, the Catholic, married Mary of Montpellier due to interests in midday Pyrenees, but their family life came close to creating a succession crisis situation that could have caused the separation of Aragon from Catalonia. Queen Mary ended up giving him an heir, James I, who served to maintain the dynasty in both territories. However, Peter tried to annul the marriage, without success, to marry Mary of Montferrat, heiress of the Kingdom of Jerusalem, which is why he had to suppress a revolt in the city of Montpellier, affecting the Queen. Mary of Montpellier was popularly revered as a saint for her piety and marital suffering, but she was never canonized. He died in Rome in 1213. Pedro II of Aragon was closely linked to Occitania and midday Pyrenees. He had married Maria, heiress of Montpellier, and his sister Leonor had married Count Raymond VI of Toulouse in 1202. Ramon Roger Trencavel, Viscount of Béziers and Carcassonne, was also his vassal. In some populations of these regions in the south of France, the influence of a religious sect with an Eastern influence had expanded, whose acolytes, the Cathars, were known locally by the name of Albigensians because they were very numerous in the city of Albi, in the department of Tarn-du-Mayo. Des Pyrenees. When he returned from the Battle of Navas de Tolosa, on July 16, 1212, Pedro II found Toulouse conquered by Simon de Montfort, and Count Raymond 6 of Toulouse, his brother-in-law and vassal, exiled. He then crossed the Pyrenees and arrived at Muret in September 1213 to face the Frenchman's army. He was joined by Raymond VI, who tried to persuade him to avoid battle and starved the enemy forces into a siege. This suggestion was rejected. Pedro II died on September 12, 1213 in the Battle of Muret, defending his subjects from the aggression of the Crusaders. The Aragonese forces became disorganized and disintegrated under the attack of Montfort's squadrons. Pedro was trapped in the middle of the skirmish and died as a result of a rash act of bravery. He was fighting in disguise, a common feature of kings at the time, apparently not seen as dishonor. As a minor vassal armed as a king, he attracted the disdain of the Crusaders. Not holding back, he would have responded something like, "Here I am, come." He was thrown from his horse and killed, the Aragonese panicked and the battle ended. Pedro II de Aragon was buried in the convent of Segina of the Order of the Hospital, in Villanueva de Segina. The kingdom then passed to his only son born to Mary of Montpellier, the future King James I, the Conqueror. Family and descent. From the marriage of Pedro II de Aragon, in 1204, with Maria de Montpellier, my 26th grandparents, 4 times my grandparents, daughter Guillaume 8 degrees de Montpellier, had Dona Sancha Infanta de Aragao. James I of Aragon, the Conqueror, my 25th grandfather, 4 times my grandfather, his successor on the throne of Aragon, married to Violanta, Princess of Hungary, Queen of Aragon, my 26th and 28th grandmother, and to Teresa Gil de Vidor, my 25th and 27th grandmother. He also had 2 illegitimate children. Pedro du Rey, chaplain in Lleida. Constance of Aragon, Baronessa de Aitona, married in 1212 to Guillermo Raimundo de Moncada, Seneschal of Catalonia. Dom Afonso II, King of Portugal, was born in Coimbra, April 23, 1185 and died in Coimbra, March 25, 1223. He was the son of Don Sancho I, King of Portugal, and Dona Dulce de Barcelona, Infanta of Aragon, paternal grandson of Dom Afonso Henriquez, first King of Portugal, and Dona Mafalda of Savoy, and maternal grandson of Ramon Berenguer IV, Count of Barcelona, and Petronilla, Queen of Aragon. Dom Afonso II, third King of Portugal, son of Don Sancho I and Queen Dona Dulce, my 27th and 28th grandparents, married Dona Urraca, Infanta of Castile, in 1208, and ascended the throne at the end of March 1211. Received the nickname the Fat One. It had no military vocation, so it abandoned the policy of territorial expansion, a dominant concern until then, to seek to provide the country with a modern conception of the function of the state, the king, and national unity. With these objectives, as soon as he ascended the throne, in 1211, he summoned Cortes to Coimbra. From these came the first collection of general laws in the country, which clearly show the king centralizing action in opposing the abuses of the privileged classes. A series of general measures were also taken that were intended to guarantee the right to property, regulate civil justice, defend the material interests of the crown, and prevent certain abuses of the privileged. Confirmations, rare until this period, and which became widespread between 1216 and 1221 as a public administration measure, also show the desire to establish the crown's sovereignty. Another measure taken to repress the abuses of the privileged classes were inquiries. This new policy also led to conflicts with the clergy and infant sisters. Don Sancho I had left, by will, to the infants Dona Teresa, Dona Sancha, and Dona Mafalda numerous grants in land and money on which Dom Afonso II intended the payment of royal rights. The infantas appealed to the Pope, who, after some advances and retreats, confirmed the position of Dom Afonso II. The king sought to undermine clerical power within the country and apply part of the church revenues to purposes of national utility. This attitude gave rise to a diplomatic conflict between the papacy and Portugal. After being excommunicated by Pope Honorius III, Dom Afonso II promised to rectify his errors against the church, but he died in 1223 excommunicated, without making any serious effort to change his policy. Only after the resolution of the conflict with the church, in the first months of the reign of his successor Dom Sancho II, Dom Afonso II was finally able to rest in peace in the monastery of Alcobaça. He was the first monarch to make the Cistercian abbey the royal pantheon. Although, as we have already said, he had no military concerns, he sent Portuguese troops who, alongside Castilian, Aragonese and French troops, fought bravely in the famous Battle of NAVAS de Tolosa in defense of the peninsula against the Muslims. Alcázar do Sal was the main achievement of his reign. Dom Afonso II's health problems. Dom Afonso II was a sick man. He was only 14 years old when he suffered a crisis so serious that people even considered it a miracle that he didn't die, a miracle attributed to Santa Signorina de Basta. The crises recurred throughout life and the symptoms are known. Deformities of the skin and flesh, swellings, disgusting wounds, and at the time they thought it was leprosy, and that's why they called it Gaffo, which means leper. The nickname he ended up with, Gordo, was due to the illness that deformed him. He died in Santarem in 1223, at the age of 38, still excommunicated, and is buried in Ecobacca. The Testament of Dom Afonso II was the first official document written in Portuguese. Children of Dom Afonso II and Dona Urraca, Infanta of Castile, my 26th and 27th grandparents. Dom Sancho II, King of Portugal, married to Dona Mencha Lopes de Haro. Dom Afonso III, King of Portugal, my 25th and 26th grandfather, married to Dona Matilda, Countess of Bologna, married Dona Beatriz de Castella, had children of Dona Maria Perez de Inzara, my 25th, 26th grandmother, and Madrigana, later Moor Afonso. Dona Leonor, Infanta of Portugal, married to Voldemar III, King of Denmark. Dom Fernando, Infante of Portugal, Lord of Serpa, married Sancha Fernandes de Lara. Dom Vicente, Infante of Portugal. Natural children of Dom Afonso II. Dom João Afonso. Dom Pedro Afonso.